We have such kind of a program. Today, we are talking about issues of peace during this electioneering period. Tomorrow, Kenyans are going to exercise their right to vote for their leaders, right from MCA, woman rep, member of parliament, senate, governor, even president. How are you prepared for the election? One thing that we want to do is to ensure that as you vote tomorrow, you are maintaining peace wherever you are. Mid-Morning Park this morning is going to keep you updated on what is happening regarding the elections tomorrow. My name is Paul Kagi. I have my co-host Mangi Chomola, and we have a guest this morning. Before we go far, if you want to talk to us, our SMS number is 23814. 23814. You can give your comment on what we are discussing. You can also text us via WhatsApp number 0721 105 105. We are live on our Facebook, MBCI TV, and even YouTube, MBCI TV Official. Welcome to the program. We are here for the next 1.5 hours. Before we go too far, Mangi Chomola, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, my colleague Paul Kagi. And indeed, our dear viewer, as my colleague has said, the time for reckoning is nigh. We've been preparing for this election, and just now we are just waiting for a few hours, and tomorrow is the day when Kenyans will go to the ballot to be in a position to elect their leaders. This is a critical moment in our country. It's an opportunity that always comes after 5 years, and you want to believe that you've prepared fully. By now, you already know the leader, the kind of a leader that you want to have, the issues that you'll be putting into consideration when you are voting, because your vote counts. And it's very, very important, Paul Kagi, for each and every Kenyan to be able or to be in a position to participate in this critical exercise, because in previous elections, we've had Kenyans, we've had people who are eligible to vote, who have not voted, who have failed to vote. And this, in one way or another, has contributed to bad leadership in different levels. But this time round, we want to ensure and we want to encourage you, we want to sensitize you that it is important for you to vote. That one particular vote can make the entire change that we want and the entire change that we are looking forward in this particular country. So welcome so much for joining us, and thank you so much for joining us on MBCI TV. As we've rightly put it, the program is the Mid-Morning Park, a program whereby you'll get to be in a position to interact and even to participate and even to tell us what is your perspective as far as our conversation is concerned. And the question that we are asking you, our viewer, this morning is, what is your advice and prayer even as the country heads to the general election tomorrow? What is your advice and what is your prayer as the country heads to the general election tomorrow? You can give us your views, you can give us your opinions on the numbers that we've already told you. 23814, that is our SMS platform. And then you can also tell us on WhatsApp, 0721 105 105, 0721 105 105. You can also get to MBCI TV on our Facebook page, and you can give us your comment there, and basically we'll be able to address some of your concerns, some of your opinions, and we want to ensure you that we'll have a very, very captivating conversation this morning.
Right, and as you are aware, dear viewer, is that today and tomorrow we are preparing for the general elections. And as I was coming over here, Mangicho, I found the security personnel are all over preparing for the exercise. Members of all security agents, starting from the NYS going upward, they are preparing for the exercise tomorrow. And the good is that by today, we have not had any incident that is bringing some tension or something regarding the elections. And I think Kenyans are prepared for this year's general elections. For the first time, we are having the highest number of voters, 22,120,458. You know, we want to see what percent are going to participate in these elections, right? And I think for the first time, we are having an organized IEBC which has updated us regarding all these matters. And yesterday, there was a statement released by the Supreme Court regarding the issue of presidential petitions. You see, last time when we were having the petition, there was no... They didn't know much about it. But this time around, as I was reading the statement, they have given what you're supposed to do if you want to file a petition on presidential elections.
Morning in this particular show, my colleague Paul Kagi, as you rightly put it, it's very, very important. We'll be able to see what are some of the avenues, because we believe that in this particular election, there are those who are going to win, there are those who are going to lose. We'll be able to look at some of those scenarios and what they mean or what they portend for you as a voter or even as a Kenyan. But the clarion call is for the entire nation to be able to maintain peace. And I think you want to believe with me, Kagi, that this is an election whereby we've really witnessed paramount peace across all counties. We've not had major incidences like the ones that we've actually experienced in previous elections. And I think this is something that we need to be proud of as a country.
Yes, and also I think by tomorrow, as we are concluding the elections on Wednesday, something I'm looking forward to, and I'm very much optimistic about the issue, is regarding after elections on Wednesday, that people goes back to their work, waiting for the IEBC to finalize their activities. And I think if we are going to achieve that, we are going to have a very great milestone regarding to the management of elections in this republic.
At this particular moment, we want to bring on board our guest, governance expert, who is going to help us to be able even to make sense of the discussion that we are having this morning. And on set, we are having Engineer Crispus Wadhimba. Thank you so much for joining us on the Mid-Morning Pack.
Thank you so much, Kagi and Mugij, for hosting me. And I look forward to an exciting discussion, so that we can take the opportunity to inform the viewer, to empower the voter, so that tomorrow we can make good decisions for this country.
Sure. And thank you so much, Engineer. And maybe even just as we begin, because that is what we were talking with my colleague Kagi, and we've been able to say that, or we've been able to point out that one of the things that we've really witnessed is the high level of tranquility and peace that has been witnessed during the campaign time and even as we head to the election. As a leader, what do you think you attribute this to?
I think our politics has matured. At the stage where violence was predominant in any electoral process was a sign of immaturity of our politics. So today, our politics is very mature. Also in the kind of candidates that have shown up in terms of presenting themselves, you can see the number is quite, the array is wide. The parties are many, and also the independent candidates are many, showing that many people have heeded the call for leadership. Many people are ready to invest in terms of time and resources to get into office, and also many people are engaging the voters in terms of informing them the importance of leaders and what leaders are able to do for them and why they should participate in the election process. So I think our politics is mature. People have also realized the importance of participating in the political process, because political process give birth to leaders, leaders give birth to a good economy or a bad economy, and a bad economy means the country is in a bad state. So I'm excited to see that the level of maturity is much, much higher as compared to other elections.
Yeah, and that basically means that because you mentioned that we've had quite a great number of new entrants in the field of politics.
Yes.
Or do you say that maybe those now who are coming in are the ones that have come in new style, those who now believe that you don't have maybe to get into chaos, you don't have to get into maybe blackmailing each other for you maybe to win a particular seat?
You know, when you move away from the traditional, which was predominant about violence, about money, about where you come from, which family name you have, such things. Now the conversation is about who you are. What can you be able to deliver? What is your background? What is your CV? Which formation do you align yourself with? Which kind of values do you espouse as a leader? What narrative do you support? So that if the narrative of peace is what you are supporting, then those who want to support you will support you. If the narrative is about a prosperous economy, people will be able to support it. So the agenda has now, the area of the agenda has widened. It has become more palatable to the voter. It has become more mature in terms of the kind of discussion that we are having. And also the voter himself or herself has also matured and realized politics is not just an emotional process where you just get excited and choose leaders. Politics is an opportunity to determine that person you'll put in an office, and that office will make a determination whether your life will be better or not.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think as we're talking about peace that we have experienced during this time, I tend to see that it started long far during campaigns. Maybe for the first time, we are having a country whereby we have conducted our campaigns in a more peaceful manner. For the first time, I was really attentive on the issue of campaigns, whereby you see politicians from across the board, they could move from all corners of the republic to campaign, even in areas perceived to be a stronghold of a particular candidate.
Yeah. Sure.
And every candidate was welcomed by people from that area. There was no intimidation. There was no war. It was the first sign of peace that slowly we are embracing and even order in our campaigns. And if we go this way, then believing in the next elections, we are going to be very far from where we are today in this election.
And therefore, even as you pick up from where my colleague has left, Engineer Wadhimba, it therefore means that it captures well the scenario that when it comes to issues of Kenyans coexisting, Kenyans living peacefully, Kenyans loving each other, loving one another, being in unity, they never have a problem. The problem is caused by the politician.
Let me tell you, for me as a person who has been on the ground also, looking on hunting for votes, I've traversed this county of Nakuru. And Nakuru is one of the most diverse counties, where on one end you'll find Maasais, on the other end you'll find Kalenjins, on the other end you'll find Kikuyus, in the middle you find Luyas, Kisis, Luos, Hindu, people from the coast, all of them within this county. But one thing I'll tell you, as an independent candidate who is not affiliated to any political party, so I was able to engage people across the divide. Yeah. One thing they would tell you, you come here, you ask for votes in peace, because even us, we want to remain peaceful. Don't try and incite us against one side or the other. Make sure you peacefully engage with us, peacefully seek for your vote, and peacefully leave us.
Yes.
So even sometimes they would tell you, by the way, we don't want your money.
Yes.
We just want to listen to what you are able to offer.
Okay.
Once you finish, we will also call another person
to come
who will come and do the same, and they go. Once all of you have done that, we will decide.
Sure.
And they were very clear, especially in the areas where we have predominantly been having violence. They were very welcoming. I went to places in Kuresoi and Njoro, where definitely the history of violence has been there. The history of tribalism has been there. But this time around, they were even looking forward to receive you as a Mheshimiwa and listen to you. They were more curious to know, what are you going to do? And also it took a good opportunity for some of us to be able to educate people on the importance of leaders. And one thing I want to mention before I leave this place is to be able to educate the voter about the importance of every leader that you elect, from the president to the governor, to the senator, to the county women rep, to the MP, to the MC. All of them have specific functions and roles to perform. Therefore, don't take one seat to be lighter than the other. Without one seat, or having one seat occupied by a weak person, it will weaken the entire system. So it's important that whenever you are electing a leader, take your time, understand who you are voting, what are you voting him for or her, and be able to understand that once you put this person in office, you will be expected also to continue engaging him, because the issue of public participation is very important.
Sure.
This issue of just electing leaders, then they go, then you keep complaining, I voted you guys, you went to Nairobi, you forgot about us. No, there is something that was put in the law about public participation. So party participation gives you an opportunity to demand and engage with your leader. Therefore, leaders need to be called upon, and the electorate needs also to participate in this engagement, so that through that engagement, you can be able to check the leader at the ground and be able to tell him.
Absolutely fantastic there, Engineer Wadhimba. And actually, we are going to delve into that much more deeper. But there is something that he said, Kagi, which is very critical, because it's a very good scenario whereby we are hearing of such kind of a testimony that these politicians, this time around, they've been able to move across different areas, even those areas that perceived to be their the strongholds of maybe their opponents. But ironically, this time around, they've been well received. The voters have come to the realization that maybe even when they fight, they are the ones to lose. and maybe the politician doesn't have anything. At the end of the day, we are being told that when they retreat back to their homes, they take tea together, they shake hands together.
And they laugh together. And I think another thing that has really helped this issue is whereby the cohesion, the national cohesion, has been very strict on the issues of the rhetoric that you give the public. And I think whereby politicians have reduced the strong words in their political rallies, have really made the people to listen to them. For example, if I come from a certain stronghold, and you come with some strong words regarding me in a political rally, of course you are going to expect some negative feedback. But because our politicians now have started embracing using of good language, trying to use a language that's not inciting people, I think it is also contributing to the peace that we have experienced this time of the elections. Although in the highest office, it has not been well done,
Sure.
But I think in the coming years, maybe it's going to change. But I think also we need to thank our voters for allowing people to come and serve themselves.
Wow.
And that is one thing I think is going to change this country. Because, like the voters are part of the young people, it's because of the results by our politicians. They say, oh, you see, we elected these guys, they are not helping us. If I elect them today, what is going to happen? But if the next crop of leaders is going to change, that if you are given a position as a governor, you perform your duty as a governor. If you are given a duty as a senator, you do your responsibility. As a member of parliament, you do your duty, and people see what you are doing. An MCA does his or her duty, and then people can be able to see. I think we are going to attract many people to participate in this exercise. And then people are going to see the need to vote. You see? If people refuse to vote, then you are giving an opportunity, then the fate to give you leaders that are not required. But if you all participate, or big percent participates, I think we are going to have the right people in the country. And finally, people must be able to observe leaders who have a tongue to incite. They should not be allowed to go to leadership positions. Why? It's upon voters to identify those people and keep away from the leadership. And then we have people who are very sober, who are serious with the leadership seat, and who think and believe well of this country.
Sure. And I think that is an area that I would also like Engineer Wadhimba to also touch on, because you've rightly put it that this time round, most of the candidates have been able to move across the counties, across different regions to ask for votes. And the voters have been able to give them an ear to be able to know what are some of the issues, or what are some of the agendas, what are some of their policies. Do you therefore think that this time round we are going to see a change in how maybe the voters are going to vote, contrary maybe to how we've been used to see voters maybe voting alongside ethnic lines, along party lines? Do you think issues this time around will be a major consideration in the voting ballot?
One thing I'll tell you, the business of the suit, a uniform suit from top to bottom, is not there. People will mix and match. There will be candidates who will succeed who are not affiliated to other parties. There will be candidates who are independent. There will be candidates who will win from different backgrounds of tribe, of political formations, or political parties. So the diversity of the mix of the politics, the kind of leaders we'll have from tomorrow is going to be totally different. It will be like a rainbow.
So the large number of independent candidates.
There'll be a lot of independents. There'll be also small parties that you don't know about, but will make it to office, MCA level, MP level. There'll also be interesting numbers that you'll see. For example, somebody like the Roots Party, he may not win the presidency, but he will command a majority, a chunk of vote that we never imagined that we would have. You understand me? For example, if Azimio and the Kenya Kwanza command, for example, 49% by end of day tomorrow, we may end up with a runoff as a result of these other 2% coming from Wajakoya and the other. So you find a scenario where we go into a runoff, or a second election, not because of a judicial pronouncement, but because of a minority constituent that firmed up its position and said, we support this person. Despite his being a minority, we need to be heard.
And so this is also going to be a good relief to those voters who believe that there was no justice during the
nomination, the clearance by IEBC. You see there are a lot of dissenting voices, and that's why also if you look at these other seats, especially on the MCA level, I've engaged with a lot of MCAs on the ground, and also the electorate. You realize they are standing more with the independents, because the independents were people who most of them had already made a lot of inroads before the nominations with the parties, but they were sidelined by the political parties. So the voters said, you go independent, but we'll stand with you. And that also will send a very strong message that our politics may have matured with the voter, but our political parties have not matured. And that is something we need to discuss.
Sure.
When you look at Vision 2030 of Kibaki, it had the issue of social growth and political growth. The politics of our country is still, the political parties in our country are still not mature.
Yes.
They are still vehicles owned by people. And that is giving room to independent candidates. Maybe there'll be now what we call an independent candidates movement or an independent movement. Because, for example, if here in Nakuru County, we end up with 20 MCAs who are all independent and 35 who are affiliated to a party, who will be the minority and the majority leader?
Sure.
You know, those are important questions we need to understand. What if we end up with 35 from the independents and we have 20 from political parties? Who will be controlling the house? So those are issues that we need to understand.
Exactly.
And I think the political parties need to understand that the ground is shaking. Okay? The ground is shaking, and the ground is not as strong as it used to be in the days of ODM and the TNA and URP. Things have shifted.
Exactly.
And there's something I also want to mention about the maturity of the voter. You've realized in the last 3 weeks, the president, the deputy president, Raila, have been talking very harshly against each other. But the people have remained calm.
Sure.
Despite the headlines being very alarming, these Kenyans have remained calm. You didn't hear, in Eldoret or in Nakuru or in Nairobi or in Murang'a, people throwing stone against each other because you betrayed our people. No, people remained calm and they moved on with life. Meaning, even tomorrow, if we decide whichever direction this thing takes, people will still continue with their life, because what is important to people right now is your own well-being, is your own livelihood. And who delivers that livelihood to you? It's your others, the local. Politics has become local.
Exactly.
Meaning Kenyans are more interested in the leader within them or near them than the ones who are very far off.
Exactly. And remember, just before I bring Kagi to also chip on this, remember you are joining us live on MBCI TV. The program on board is the Mid-Morning Park, and we are just a few hours to the general election. We are looking at quite a number of things that are very, very pertinent as far as the election is concerned. And remember, dear viewer, you can interact with us, or you can give us your opinions on our conversation this morning. You can use the SMS platform 23814. And also our WhatsApp platform is 0721 105 105. You can also catch us live on our Facebook page, MBCI TV. The question that we're asking you this morning: what's your advice and prayer as a country heads to the general election? What's your advice and prayer as a country heads to the general election?
Yes, right, Mangicho and Engineer. I have some few observations to make regarding what has been happening for the 3 months.
Yes.
Number one, we want to call upon Kenyans, the way they have conducted themselves the last 3 months during the campaign, they do the same tomorrow. After elections, let's go back to our jobs and wait for IEBC to do its job.
Okay.
Number two, regarding the parties, for the first time, we have seen political parties having support across the board. Every corner of this republic, especially for I may call them the major parties, they have had a support across the country. It's a very big win for the Kenyans. Number two, as the engineer has just said, that the issue of the political parties wave is quickly dying.
Yes.
That if this year we have not had that wave of the political parties, that if you vie for a certain party, even if people don't know you, you are 100% you are going to win. This time around, it's near zero. It's not guaranteed. Before, if you win a ticket after nomination on a particular party, you guaranteed that you have gotten the seat. This time around, it's not. In fact, I had politicians complaining that how comes this time around we are going to do 2 campaigns. Which 2 campaigns? The first one is for nomination, which guarantees you is like when you pass the nomination on a particular party, you are now aware and you are sure that you have captured the seat.
Sure.
Now you do the nominations. You're not even sure whether you are going to get the seat. You go to the next campaign. So the issue of party wave is dying in this country.
And that's a good lesson, because there are those who believe that most of the party nominations were bungled. There are those who believe that justice was not done to them, and that's why maybe even some of them decided to go independent.
Yes.
And therefore, I think in the coming general election and even by-election, the parties have to toe the line and ensure that their exercises, their party nomination are done in a fair and a credible manner.
And I think the last one is the issue of political parties. I wish in Kenya we have strong political parties that are alive for many years. For example, the CCM in Tanzania is a party which has been there since independence. It is a strong party. When you go to the politics of US, they have 2 strong political parties which have been there for a long time. To give people an opportunity to understand the ideologies of a party, to understand the vision of a party, so that you can be able to decide, like the issue of football. You know, there's some people who die with Arsenal, you see, Manchester, because they believe something in those teams. The same case, I wish Kenya we could be able to build some strong political parties for people to be able to associate themselves for many years. That today I say, from today I've decided I'll be a member of Party X. Mangichi will say, I'll be a follower of Party Y. Engineer, Party Z. You see? If we get there, I think our politics will be very exciting and very serious. And I don't know, the history of our parties, that after every election, we have a new crop of parties, we are never stable in political parties.
Maybe that is something that engineer would want maybe to contribute on, as Kagi rightly puts it, that like for example, when you talk about Jubilee, maybe so many people hope that Jubilee would actually go for a very long time.
Maybe you can give 1 minute because we want to
take a break.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we take a short break at this particular point. Our dear viewer, remember you are right here live on MBC TV. The program is the Mid-Morning Park. We are just a few hours to the general election, and we want to believe that you are also preparing for the same, because it's very, very important for you to participate in this national exercise. We want to take a short break at this particular point. Don't go far away. We are coming back with plenty more.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
At the strike of midnight on Monday, 8th August 2022, all elective seats in Kenya will be vacant. The presidency, 47 governors, 47 senators, 47 county women members of National Assembly, 290 members of parliament, and 1,450 members of county assembly. A total of 1,882 in 6 elective positions. The doors will be opened for newly elected leaders. It is the civic duty of all Kenyans to go and wisely choose leaders that will govern the country for the next 5 years. All believers must invite the Lord Jesus Christ to come and reign over Kenya so that only God's chosen leaders are elected. This is your date with destiny. Cast your vote and welcome to our worship, intercession, and declarations for 24 hours, which will take place at the KSF Harvest Cathedral in Nakuru from midnight on Monday, August 8th to midnight on Tuesday, August 9th. Apostle John Kemani William and Kingdom Seekers worship team, plus other invited worship ministers and worship teams, will lead the 24-hour worship and intercession. Come, let us gather at Kenya's gate of elections to enthrone the Lord through worship, intercession, and declarations for 24 hours. Connect with us on MBCI TV and radio and social media platforms. Casting the lot settles disputes and keeps strong opponents apart. Proverbs chapter 18 verses 18.
We are one, together as a family. We are one.
What's up? Mko fiti? Naitwa Meja Maina na nataka tu dakika moja. Niko na form wadau. Unajua walisema vijana ndio leaders wa kesho. Lakini ni sisi vijana tunatumika kueneza selfish agenda za leaders. Hii ni Kenya boss. Usiaeka siasa kwa roho. Ama politician at the end of the day ni mabeshte mbaya. Hawa struggle huku chini kama mimi na wewe. Ukisha vote, enda kijani. Tulia. Tusihang around ma polling station. Kazi ya kucount kura ni ya IEBC. Leader wa Maina anaweza shinda ama ahate pia. Leader wa yours anaweza shinda ama ahate pia. Nataka tukubaliane. Mwenye atashinda tuta accept results na tuko fiti na yeye. Najua umesikia hii slogan. Tusibleed ndio wa lead. Juu kabila man itakuacha bila.
Tangu enzi za mababu zetu.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Right, this is Mid-Morning Park on MBCI TV, and today we are talking about peace during these elections. With my co-host Mangi Chomola. Our guest is Engineer Wathimba. And if you want to talk to us, you can SMS via 23814. You can also via our WhatsApp number, that is 0721-105-105. Our Facebook, MBCI TV. We are live, and we're also live on MBCI YouTube, that is MBCI TV official YouTube, and the program is called Mid-Morning Park.
Exactly, and remember, our dear viewer, the question that we're asking you during this conversation is, what is your prayer and what is your advice even as the country heads to the general election tomorrow? What is your advice? What is your prayer as the country heads to the general election tomorrow? You can give us your views and opinions, and we'll be able to sample some of them as we continue with our conversation this morning. Remember, it is your duty, it is your right to be able to participate in this critical exercise, a national exercise that comes after 5 years. So you don't have to fail to vote, then you begin maybe to blame yourself or maybe blame other people. Take this particular time to be able to prepare well so that tomorrow you can go and vote for the leader that you truly believe is going to help you or is going to help the country make the change that it requires as leadership is concerned. And we're having On this particular discussion, our guest this morning, Engineer Crispus Wadhimba. And just before the break, Engineer, we were talking about the issue about parties, and we want to find out whether as a country we can be able actually to develop and even maybe to grow in terms of having solid parties. Because when we are, the issue of having maybe some of these independents that we've had or we've actually witnessed during this particular electioneering period is because of maybe the way our parties are managed. What do you think is supposed to be done? Because there are people who argue if it is the laws are there. What is it that therefore is required to make us to have good, solid parties that will be able even maybe to help the country to grow?
Well, I'll just take you back to history. We are 59 years since you got independence.
Sure.
This year is 30 years since multi-party democracy started. So half of the life of this country as an independent nation, we have been in a single party, and then now we have been in a multi-party democracy. Multi-party democracy started at a point where the issue of having many parties to divide the votes was the order of the day. And that has continued to be. Despite many attempts to bring political parties together from 2002 to today, we are still going back to that point where we are dividing the votes in many political parties. But also, political parties have been used as an attempt by people who don't want to go through a rigorous nomination process to go using small parties to get into office. And that attempt has also been frustrated also by parties where the internal party democracy has failed, where you find parties don't allow free and fair nominations. And then now, in this election, we have seen something else called the zoning process, where political parties come together and form coalitions. Then, during the final run to the election, they force people within the coalition, in inferior parties within the coalition, to stop for other people, which shows that parties are not equal. Okay. There is no equality in this game or political game. So, for me, as I said earlier, political parties have not matured enough. And if political parties had matured enough, we would find political parties that are able to exist beyond 3 and 4 elections. Because right now, as we speak, the oldest party among all this probably would have been ODM. Yes. But you can see even the presidential candidate is not riding on ODM. He's riding on something called Azimio, which is a body that has just been given birth maybe 3 or 4 months ago. There is no single president in Kenyan history since 2002 who has been able to succeed his government on the same party that brought him in. That sends a very wrong message about our kind of politics. Where is our place of party? Where is our place in terms of politics and political parties? So we have an office called the Office of Registrar of Political Parties. That office is supposed to regulate and guide the process of political parties maturing within the political discourse in Kenya. Okay. That office needs to be empowered. If we need to review the law, we need to do that. Sure. And we need to review the law progressively. Because we've just reviewed the law the other day to allow coalitions to be political parties. Okay. That is the most recent change. But has it helped? What it has given birth is more frustration to candidates, because the element of now zoning, even beyond, once you've been cleared by your party, you are being forced to step down because the element of zoning is coming, because you need to, your formation needs to win. You understand me? So our politics still has a long way to go. I am hoping that whichever side of government comes through, I think both in Kenya Kwanza and in Azimio, there are people within those parties, who those formations, who I believe they are more keen in having fewer parties, but transgenerational parties that can be there for maybe 2, 3, 4 generations, which is something we have not experienced. Other than KANU, which we can say has been there for 59 years, but you can see where it is placed in right now. I don't think we are close to what Tanzania has, or America, or the UK. But it took time for all of those countries
because even
to arrive where they are.
Because even as we say that this time around we've seen maybe so many independent candidates, and maybe there are those who believe that therefore this is an avenue that IEBC has given to those maybe who feel that justice was not, or justice was denied to them, an opportunity maybe to be able to showcase that they actually have the voters on the ground. But what could be the disadvantage of having so many independents as compared maybe to them being in political parties?
Well, for me, I would not say it as a disadvantage, because if you realize, our history with political parties has shown that, for example, if I'm elected as those who are elected in Jubilee in the most recent government, or in ODM, or in Wiper, you realize if they took an independent position, they were whipped by the party, and they were told, no, this position is not right. Yes. Yet that position could be in favor of their constituents. So they are like, for example, here in Nakuru, we have had this issue of the dry port, and every party was saying we are going to take business back to Mombasa. But the leaders who are most prominent in Nakuru, who are in parties, they could not speak against this position, yet this position is good for their own people. So what does, who has the right now, who has the authority? The independent candidate is the only person who can say no. On the issue of the port, I stand with the dry port remaining in Nakuru. But you could see these other guys in yellow and blue. They were avoiding discussing this issue because it is against their party principles. Wow. Wow. Yet, the very people who they are looking votes from need the port to be in Nakuru. So this issue of parties sometimes also is very unfair, because parties move from one county to the other, promising heaven and earth, yet one heaven, your province here, is hell to the other. You understand? If you promise Nakuru heaven, but you're denying it to Nairobi, and what are you doing? It's double speak. You understand me? Yet we are supposed to speak as one Kenya, live in one country where there is shared economic prosperity, there is equal opportunity for everybody. There are so many things that we are supposed to achieve through parties. So I think parties need to be mature enough to have the courage to say, you people of Mombasa, we took port operations to Nakuru for this reason. But for you, we will do the alternative for you where you may have lost. Then you people of Nakuru, because you have gotten this new advantage, we will maybe deny you this so that you can benefit the people of Mombasa. You understand me? That's what we need. Political parties need to be so mature that they can speak the truth.
Wow. Amazing there. And just before I bring Kagi, because there is something else that Engineer had talked about, and this is very critical because we've seen during this particular campaign that so many people have put a lot of consideration, maybe a lot of weight on maybe the two seats that maybe they consider to be very effective or maybe to be very major, the presidential seat and maybe the governor seat. But these other seats are very, very important as well. And Engineer, the Senate seat, I believe, is very, very dear to you.
Yes.
It's very important, even as the country heads to the general election tomorrow, for every voter. And I remember there is a discussion we had in radio, and even one of the listeners was actually asking the IEBC officials that is it possible for me to just go and vote for the presidential seat and maybe leave the others? Maybe before Engineer comes, Paul Kagi, you want to chip in on that?
Thank you, Mangicho. I think, number one, as we said at the beginning, there is need for serious, maybe, voter education to our people. And I think last time we know IEBC was being accused of not giving good voter education to the people. That's why there was an issue of registering for voters. There was very less voter sensitization. And therefore...
And even this time around, maybe they are saying maybe they were not adequately funded. So yes. I don't know whether we are still suffering from the same.
Yeah, and I think that's why those questions are coming forth.
Yes.
We have many local media houses which can be able to reach people right on the ground. There are very many. Even speaking in their own dialects. And therefore, I think what IEBC need to do in advance, because if the election laws are not changed, they remain the same, so the education should remain uniform. Let's educate people on how they're supposed to vote, how they're supposed to elect their leaders, because the laws are very clear, right? And I want to comment about the political parties and the independence parties. I think our main challenge is the legislature. Because if you want to change any law in our country, it must go through the parliament. And the parliament is dominated by politicians. They have their own vested interests regarding parties. That's why you see when we are changing laws regarding the Political Parties Act the other day, there was a near fight in the parliament because what they were passing through was based on their vested interests, right? If you want to empower independent candidates, because there are going to be very many, you need to change laws. But is our parliament ready to change laws to empower people who are a threat to their survival?
Exactly.
Whether in parliament, national assembly, whether in county assembly, I think it is a challenge. I was hearing to a group of independent candidates who are pushing for formation of, I think, political parties for independent candidates, which I think was brushed off in the initial stage.
Yeah.
So I think even Parliament needs to be a bit realistic on the dynamics of our politics.
Wow.
Isn't it?
Yeah, that's very okay. And engineer, maybe now you can come in on that, and maybe particularly, because what we do want Kenyans to know as far as maybe this perception that I'm only interested in the presidential seat, I'm only interested in the governor's seat, but equally the MCA seat, very critical. The women rep seat, the senator's seat. Maybe you can highlight on something on that.
What I want to inform Kenyans is that every seat has its own specific role and function. And therefore, if you elect a weak leader in one of the seats, you disenfranchise the entire system. The political ecosystem of those 6 people is connected. That if you hand up with a weak senator, for example, the governor will not be able to function very well. The MCAs will not.
So each seat affects the other.
For example, a senator is the one who goes to Senate and he participates in any motion that affects the county he represents or she represents. And one important thing that the senator does is that he participates in the process that determines how much revenue is to be shared to the counties and go even further to make sure that his or her county gets a good or adequate share.
Right.
Number 2, he is also the person who interrogates the budget structure of the county government and the county assembly. And say, for example, the county assemblies have said, we'll use 10% to go benchmarking out of the country. The senator are the people who interrogate these budgets and say, no, you cannot use such money on extravagant issues, yet you are leaving very little for development. So they are the ones who set up those laws and say, no, for this kind of budget, use this amount for this and this and this and this. So if you end up with a senator who has slept on his job or her job, you will end up with nothing after 5 years of electing this person. Number 2, there are laws that need to be formed to protect the interest of the county. Give me an example like Nakuru, for example. Nakuru is 6% of the GDP of the country, meaning every 100 shillings produced in Kenya, 6 of shillings come from Nakuru. Nakuru produces 35% of the power used in the country. Nakuru has over 5 tourism sites. We are hosting the World Rally, Safari Rally, meaning there is so much that we can generate economically, but how much do we get directly to continue generating more? There are laws that can be crafted by Senate to make sure that counties like Nakuru, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, that are able to produce so much, are given more resources so that they are not put in the same level as Turkana. Turkana gets the same money as Nakuru and produces 0.something% to the GDP of the country. Yet you need to put more money in Nakuru so that it can produce more and continue supporting Turkana. You understand? We're not saying Turkana is a bad place, but feed that cow that gives you the milk. You understand? So that it can continue giving more milk to those other counties that need to be empowered. We have an equalization fund. Very soon we'll exhaust it. Yet we have not generated enough revenue or wealth to be able to feed that fund. Who does that? The senator. Let's look at the women rep also. The women rep is a very important. We say all women need to participate in politics. We have seen how it is hard for women to participate in politics. So put more women in these offices, but also put strong women who can be able to demonstrate that a woman, beyond being in the woman rep seat, she can also participate in a governor's seat, in a senator's seat, in a normal parliament seat, and win. Because they are just given a platform to demonstrate their leadership skills. But when you end up with very flower girls for that women rep seat, people will never see the value of it. But if you bring good champions of good leadership in that women's rep seat, they will start influencing the politics of the parties. They will influence the politics of the county, and now people will start appreciating, women can also be good leaders. Look at the deputy president candidates of Ruth's party and the other. When they had their debate, it was the most vibrant. It showed women, if they are given the space, they can do very well. Yes. But we end up putting fake women on women rep seat. Then we end up with that.
And engineer, what do you think in your own perception or in your own view has been the major cause of disharmony between the occupants of these various seats? Because across major counties, we've heard of reports that the senator is not in good terms with the governor is not in good terms with the MPs, the governor is not in good terms with the MCAs. Yet these are supposed to be people who come together for the good of their county. Is it bad competition? What could be
what's happening is this, it's ambition, but misguided ambition, where you go and take a Senate seat, but you are not just there for the Senate seat. You are there to go and position yourself for the governor's seat. So or you are positioning yourself in an MCA seat, yes. But your intention is to be MP. You understand? You've given yourself 15 years. First year MCA, second time MP, that time governor. You know, people are...
meaning that even when now you're in the MCA seat, you're not really...
You're not there.
You're looking
not there.
At the next
this get rich quick mentality also is in politics, where you get into power very fast. You want to be president within 20 years. You know, you need to take, politics requires maturity, because you are being given, people are being...
But do we need to disabuse that notion that maybe one particular seat is more important? And now maybe, and that is something that we've been seeing, especially for the senators.
What I'll also blame
most of the senators.
I want to blame the media.
Yes.
we went to...
Is the media really to
yes, we went to 2010, we entered into a government run by the 2010 constitution, where more functions were devolved to the county governments. Okay? Meaning, our reliance on the president should be less, and our reliance should be in the structure of the county government.
The devolution.
Yes. So, meaning, the media, for the last 4 years, after the handshake, then BBI, then Tanga, then now the elections, you've only dealt on the presidential candidates. You've not given us space who are running for Senate. You've not given any MCA even an opportunity to be heard, or even now MP. I don't even know if any MP. People are aware of the MPs they are electing. Yes. They have not been given a platform even to discuss. It's always been president,
so the media set the agenda.
And a few governors. Yet you are now blaming IEBC until they were poorly funded. The issue of voter education is everybody's responsibility. Church leaders. The civic movement, the media, and the people themselves.
Sure. Kagi, you honorable, take the blame.
I just want to say that as much as you accuse us for not giving other people platforms, I think some, especially governors, are very shy, to be frank. Others fear media so very much that if you invite them for maybe interviews or maybe want to follow up what they are doing, they are very fearful. Number two, I think even governors who have been elected, they are not willing to share what is all about governorship. Most of them, they just want to keep silent, work hiding. You don't be able to expose them. And if you're exposed in a corruption situation. So I think also the county governments, the governors who are there, some of them are serious politicians. They are playing politics. And yet they are the county CEOs. So we have that challenge. I wish the governors themselves could come up and aggressively fight for the devolution. You see, like the way former Bomet governor Isaac used to do. Every time he was out to fight for devolution, speak about devolution, at least you could see Isaac
he was passionate about
it. Today, who is passionate about the devolution? Maybe slightly is Oparanya, but still not very aggressive. But I think even governors are letting the devolution down.
But why I want to say media, civil society, church, is that, if I occupy that seat, why should I make people know so much of its value, because they will start realizing my weaknesses. So the reason they don't want to discuss more about it, because they have gone into an office and they realize this thing is bigger than me. I was not best placed to be in this office. Look at for example, the seat of Senate here in Nakuru. We have been changing senators since the last election. Actually, no senator who was in the first one has been able to participate to be re-elected. They all move away from it because they realize this seat is not as simple as it looks like. There is a lot of responsibility bestowed upon the senator, yet the only thing that is lacking, nobody is able to interrogate the performance of a senator. But if you look at counties like Makueni and Nairobi, where we had vibrant senators, Murkomen in America, vibrant senators, even they are able to run the third time because they are confident of the kind of work they were called upon to do. They are fit for that work. They are aware of what is required of them, and they are okay with that seat. But I don't want to run for senator today, and then I start running for governor. Have I even demonstrated that I've performed well on the third seat I was given? Before I start running for another one, because the Senate seat is not compared to the seat of governor. The seat of governor is a manager. Is a person who is given resources and is able to use those resources in the most prudent way. Whereas the senator is a person who looks at the governance issues within the county, laws, legislation that is right, the interest of the people. You understand me? Being the representative, the mouthpiece, the messaging, making sure that people are able to speak well about your county, they understand your county, and they are able to come and work and live within your county, knowing that they have a good representative. You understand? The way we look at Kenya and we look at it with the president, a county should be looked at one with the senator. You understand? Because this is a person, he does not have development fund. So the only thing he needs to do is make sure that there is order within his county. But if you put somebody who is sleeping there, then one day the MCAs will decide to impeach the governor. When the governor goes to Senate, there is nobody to defend him, and the man is thrown out. Yet he could be the right person for those people. Remember the case of Makueni. When the governor, Professor Buddha, was about to be thrown out, it was the sober senator who stood by him and made sure even the national government understood this position. When we wanted to save Nairobi from the mess, it was the senator who stood and said, this is the direction we need to do. What if that happened in Nakuru?
Exactly.
I don't know what would have been.
So we really don't need a scenario whereby the voter can say that I'm only interested in the governor's seat. I don't care about the Senate.
Every seat matters.
Every seat matters.
Before we continue, I want clarification from engineer regarding the nominations of the parties in Senate. In Senate,
MCA, MP.
Now, what is the procedure that is being used in nominating? What is the procedure being used when nominating these people, especially women?
The nomination is supposed to look at three areas: the minority, who could be the person with disability. Then there could be people of youth and women. Those are the people who have been classified as people who, when it comes to a political play, they don't get it a fair advantage. Therefore, if they don't get enough seats within the county assembly, they need to be represented. So the big parties are supposed to nominate. When you go to the National Assembly, the same thing. If they don't get the right numbers for young people, for people with disability and women, the party is supposed to nominate. Same thing with the National Assembly. So there are seats which are reserved. But now the problem is that you are supposed to send that list before the election. There is a timeline. Most of the time, this list is dominated by people very close to the people running these parties. Okay, so you end up with your wife, sister, your girlfriend, your neighbor, your cousin, and let me tell you, it's so ugly. You may find somebody is a champion of a party, maybe based in Nakuru, but his relatives are nominated in Kiambu and Nairobi. That is how ugly it is. Or somebody is in Kakamega, but his people are nominated in Bungoma and whatever, because they are the ones who are close to the parties. And that's why I said parties need to mature. The office of the registrar of political parties needs to rein on these people so that they don't misuse the process. And the other challenge we have is that these institutions like IEBC EACC, DCI, they need to do their work. Some of those people who are nominated, they have fake papers. And once they are given that space to be in office, we no longer interrogate issues of integrity, because we always see them. He's nominated MP, nominated MCA. So even when he presents himself to be a candidate next time, you think he's genuine. But the fact that he went through funny routes to power, and he has been in power for 5 years, we assume he's a person of integrity.
Wow.
And we end up electing this person. You saw what happened in Nairobi. Person took the nomination path, got elected the second time. Now when it is a serious seat,
Yes.
he brings documents that are questionable. I'm sorry for it.
That is something that needs to be looked at. And thank you so much, our dear viewer, for continuing to be with us on the program, The Mid-Morning Pack Show, right here on MBCI TV. We are live, and thank you so much. I'm seeing on MBCI TV, we have Margaret Janet saying following, and also Wilson Osiolo says very educative. We also have Joyce Chepchumba listening from Eldoret. The show is very captivating. Thank you so much. You can get us on MBCI TV on Facebook page, and also our SMS platform is 23814, and our WhatsApp platform is 0721 105 105. Remember the question we're asking you: what's your advice and what's your prayer as the country heads to the general election tomorrow? Just a few hours to the very day that we've been waiting for, and we are really hoping and trusting as a country that we are going to have a very, very successful election. But even as we talk about a successful election, engineer, definitely we have to get someone who will win and someone who will not. What happens to someone who wins and someone who doesn't as well?
For me, as a person who is running for the seat of Senate, as an independent, I have said, if I lose, I'll accept. I'll congratulate the person who will win, but I'll also call upon that person to not keep us out of his leadership or her leadership. Try and incorporate our views and opinions, because we also matter. We also have a contribution to make. Even if I win, I will definitely bring on board.
And where do you bring the issue of the winner takes it all in this particular context? What does it mean?
The winner takes it all should be, when you win, you also win with your competitors. Meaning, you have won, even if you win with 15%.
Yes.
But you also take on board the contribution these people can make into your leadership, so that it's a win-win for everyone. It's not a win and lose for the others. Because, for example, I'll give you an example of the MCA seat. If an MCA is going to win with 1,000 votes, in a constituency, in a ward where the voter turnout was 16,000, meaning he has been elected with less than 10% of the but he's already the MCA, because there were 20 of them. Everybody was supposed to take 8%, he got 9%. So he is a winner. But this other percentage of 91%, they have something they can put on the table in terms of enriching his leadership or her leadership. So don't ignore them. Remember,
and there is nothing like this is the people.
The majority did not vote for you.
Yes.
The majority never voted for you. You are voted by a minority. But because it is the way our politics is, there is no runoff on these other seats, you have to be the leader. But you cannot ignore the 90%. The 90% have something to be had. If on our case, for example, the Senate seat, we are 10, all of us are supposed to have, say, 10%. Okay? Then one of us wins with 12%. Are we going to ignore the 88%? No, you bring them on board. They all have something to say.
Okay.
They might be, you may disagree with them, but a majority of them may agree with them. But because of our democracy, the majority were not heard because there were too many players on this seat. But when it comes to the presidential seat, at least there, if there is no clear majority of 50% plus one, we have to go for a runoff. But in this other seat, we have to really engage with
because I think one of the misconceptions that maybe has been there, and maybe we want also to disabuse the same, is that you'll find maybe a section of voters maybe thinking that the person that we wanted maybe to win has not won, and maybe therefore our issues are not going to be taken care of. Is it just a perception, or it is something that is actually maybe true, that has actually been portrayed, that maybe there are those leaders, not just maybe in the presidential aspect, but maybe even in these other leaders that now, because we know very well, you would see maybe when the votes were being counted, the area where we got majority of the votes are this and this and this, and therefore maybe when it comes maybe now to delivering services, that those are the places that the services are taken.
Well, our nature of politics is very selfish in a way that if I get elected, I first start dealing with problems where I come from before I go start dealing with issues on other people's areas. I think that's why I'm saying, if you get elected, please bring on board everybody, because these other people will help you also reach out to where you did not get the support, but they require your services. They will be the people who will help you engage with those people who did not support you. Yet, you are required to develop everybody. For example, if you are an MCA and you are elected in a ward, okay, which has 5 sub-locations, you are voted by one sub-location for purposes of argument. Are you going to ignore the other 4 sub-locations? And yet all those sub-locations require a market. You understand? So what you do, you say, I will start with sub-location 1 the first year, sub-location 2 the second year, until I finish my 5 years, I'll have reached everyone. Rather than saying, because I won with one sub-location, let me invest in this one, so that even next year they are the ones who will take me to office. You may wake up and realize these other 4 have ganged and they have formed one candidate, and they kick you out. But if you had invested in all of them, you will be able to be elected. I think people need to look at politics in it's a science, you know, it's a psychological process where you need to embrace everyone, make everybody at ease, and be able to be acceptable to all the people. Even those who did not elect you, they are part and parcel of the leadership you're supposed to provide.
Kagi.
Yes, I think, Mangicho, we could be able to follow the science that the engineer is talking about, but I want to put myself in the shoes of that candidate who has won. You know, we know the situations of our politics. Number one, I think this candidate who has won is being driven by some 3 fears. Number one, that they feel if they incorporate the losers, let me put it like that, these guys are going to interfere with his work, maybe for their own reasons in the next election. Number two, this person who won the election might fear being sabotaged by the competitors after election. And therefore, the best thing he or she could do is to keep them away from his work. And then, number three, as a candidate who has won, because I think anybody who wins an election has a vision to continue in the next election, is that fear of competition. So these guys who have not won becomes a threat to him, especially in the next election, right? And maybe finally, to add on, maybe you are talking about this village.
And even maybe to others, as you bring your other point, the others would also take it as an opportunity to teach the opponent some lessons.
Very true. You see? And I have heard somebody like Isaac Ruto, when he lost the Bomet seat, he was saying that, no, me, I don't want to participate in the county because I don't want to interfere with the current governor's work. I've heard Kabogo saying the same for the last 5 years. That, no, leave me alone. You have your own governor, let him work. I don't want to say anything that he is not going to see that I'm interfering with his work. Maybe lastly I talk about maybe I have won a seat. This one was very popular during KANU regime, that if I won a seat, I identify that in this area I was not elected. And I'm going to deny resources to that area because they didn't elect me. And I think my own observation in the current setup is very difficult for person to deny some region
It's very hard.
resources because they didn't elect you. Especially if you look at the presidential setup. It's very hard for president who is not elected in a certain area, you know, segregates a certain area because he didn't elect him. You know, the development and resources are cut across the whole country. And everybody should be in that position.
Yeah,
That-
because even what I'm trying to think, and maybe even engineer can come to note something on this, is because even as we look at the presidential race, most of the people would agree that it's highly stake, and there is the argument that if we don't have a way of bringing the two sides together after the election, because anyone who is going maybe to win will not be in a very, very big margin. And therefore, there is need for the country maybe to be brought together even after the election, so that we don't have a polarized country. And even in some counties, the competition is also very, very stiff.
What I'll say is at the national level, we have already cured that problem. That when the president is elected, he is the president for the whole country. And that should be applied even at the county level. Because the reason why
And
we
when you
want...
talk about it has been cured, are you talking about being cured by handshake?
Not necessarily handshake.
Okay.
Even when there was a URP and TNA, it doesn't mean that regions associated with the code were not given services. It doesn't mean that the counties in those areas were not given devolved funds. They were given devolved funds and they were able to execute their mandate despite not having supported the government of the day. When we came to the second government of Jubilee, not because the deputy president region was not supporting the handshake, doesn't mean that they did not get the service of the support of the national government. They got. Because the way that our politics and governance is supposed to be is that once you are elected, you become a leader of everyone. And this
And being a,
fear-
leader, being a leader of everyone, engineer, does it therefore mean that you have to bring, like now for example, if you look at the presidential race, if it was maybe the deputy president to win, does it mean that he has to do what we saw Uhuru doing with the Azimio candidate Raila? If it is Azimio candidate Raila, does it mean he has to do with Ruto what we saw him doing with Raila, with Uhuru?
I'll give you an example. I'll just take you an example of something that happened over the weekend in America. They wanted to pass a bill on the climate change. They wanted to invest money into mitigating climate change. And Biden did not have the majority to pass that bill in Senate, the most upper house. So he had to reach out to the Republicans to support that bill. It's what we call bipartisan politics.
Sure.
There was no handshake. There's no handshake between Biden and Trump. The Trump movement is still as strong as it were, but on this issue, they brought what we call bipartisan politics. Meaning, even at the MCA level, if you want to say take development into a region that you are not perceived to be popular, who do you reach out to? Is a person who is popular there, whether he's in office or not, to help you win the support that you require. But you can't say you will not take development in that area because people have rejected it because they have rejected you. Okay? You reach out to the leader who is in that area to help you bring on board the people in that area. Because development is to be to everyone.
Yeah.
When you are achieving the city status, there are those who supported it and there are those who did not.
Exactly.
But you must say, on this issue of the city,
We have to
can we work together as leaders despite our political differences? Because the city status is for everybody. You understand?
Right.
So there you say, political divisions aside, for the interests of the people we represent, we must bring together. And that's what politics is. That's what we say, mature politics. Yeah. You understand? When we had our own debate for senators, we would sit down in the same place and have a cup of tea. But we knew when we went to the plenary, we will have differences of opinion. And when we left there, we shook hands and we said, guys, one of us here will be the next senator of Nakuru. True or false? It's true, isn't it? But we make sure that the views that we have shared here on this debate are all important. You understand?
Yeah.
Can we find space in them, in the person who will be elected? Because for me, I believe in the issue of the county of Nakuru getting something, what we call provisional GDP revenue given to it because of the money it's able to generate. Somebody else believes in something different. But all these views are important for the benefit of Nakuru County. I believe the resources in Nakuru are not benefiting everybody the same. Somebody else believes the resources of Nakuru are probably being benefited. I need to make my argument clear to him so that he can incorporate my opinion in that leadership.
Sure.
So I think the issue of bipartisan politics needs to be cultivated. You understand? The same way the media houses came together and they presented the presidential debate. It doesn't mean that because one house is for Azimio, the other one is for Kenya Kwanza, you could not work together. And we know media houses have taken positions. But on this matter of determining the presidency, you came together, gave us a nice debate, and we are all able to participate and be able to learn from that process. So I think there is room for what we can call bipartisan workmanship.
Yes.
In every space, even in churches, even in public participation, even in community development, there is space. What we need to say is that we need to do away with the old politics. We need to stop having that hangover of Kanu politics, of politics of the young people who are the majority. They don't have time for that.
Yes.
They are okay. Yeah, they get connected today. A kid in Kisumu will connect with a kid in Muranga on social media. They will connect. They will even start dating each other on social media. But before they realize one is Otieno and the other one is Njoroge.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes. I think, Mangicho, what I'm looking forward to in the next elections after Tuesday is how we are going to conduct our affairs. I wish this time around on Wednesday, or maybe after the next parliament is inaugurated, that we are going to have a parliament whereby we are not going to start politics of 2027.
Yes. 2007.
2007. Yeah.
Or 2027.
2027.
Yeah.
Number two, at least even we change the debates in our media houses. This time around, we don't invite people to come and speak politics of the next election. We have the opportunity to do that. We start inviting those leaders who we can see they are projective. And we come and discuss now issues regarding our people. You see?
And by the way, the manifestos.
Yes.
That each of these teams
Yes.
have
You
already
start
given
interrogating
Yes.
the manifestos.
Time now to begin to look at those
Because
manifestos.
if-
What have you done in the next 1 month? What have you done in the next 3
Because
months?
if the media keeps quiet
Yes.
on this, it's going to go silent. We meet again after 4.5 years during politics. You see? And therefore, I think we have an opportunity as media to change the whole situation.
Yeah.
Right? Like the issue of corruption, that media has been used to glorify corruption. We need to change that. You see? That when someone is being found for misusing public funds or stealing public funds, that we invite them to come and, try to justify.
Okay.
I think, like, for example, the issue of investigative media. The media needs to really invest in terms of, like here in the county level, we need to have strong media houses that are able to interrogate local issues and give those issues enough airtime so that people can be able to interrogate them exhaustively and be able to know this person stole money from our county. But there's a lot of money being lost at the county level. But because the media space is at the national level, we are not able to interrogate those issues.
What's happening in the county level?
People who steal at the county level, just invest next door. So you can tell. Somebody today is elected, he doesn't have anything. By the time he ends 5 years, he has a 5-story flat.
Sure.
And his salary is 120,000. Why would you not know that this is stolen money? You understand me? But the media needs to now start investing in providing the content that is connecting with the people. That is important. Okay? Because we consume what you give us. We don't own the media houses. If you give us Tanga for the 5 years, that's what we'll consume. But if you give us, county number 2 is doing this, county number 3 is doing this, why is our county not doing? This senator is, for example, there are over 135 bills that have been presented in Senate. None from Nakuru. None from Nakuru.
134.
Yes, in the last 10 years.
the last 10 years.
None from Nakuru. You understand?
Yes.
So, none even about Nakuru. None can be seen to be progressive about Nakuru.
That is ridiculous.
So
Because one would be able to...
that should be your measure of the kind of senator you elect. You understand me? MPs, how many have presented bills from Nakuru?
Sure.
You understand? So we need to interrogate.
So the narrative should actually change from tomorrow.
There is a lot of push. Everybody who will be elected It's time now you give them airtime to explain their manifesto, how they intend to implement them, and you continue giving us a scorecard.
Like all of them
yes.
have really promised they are going
A
to do
lot.
something within 100 days.
Yes.
3 months.
Yes.
So after 3 months, we bring them on board.
Exactly.
I have promised and I am requesting, once I am elected, you call me here. I demonstrate to you how. And one of the things I want to achieve is bringing leaders together. Me, I want to have a county leaders forum where we can bring governors, senators, MCAs, MPs together. We sit down and we can be able to negotiate as a county. We go and tell the president-elect, in Nakuru County, we have given you these votes. We have this in a GDP. We have this in population. We have all this. Can you give us the following so that we can achieve our goals?
And I think that is why we're having a challenge. I don't think there is any county in this republic whereby we're having a sitting governor, a sitting senator, a sitting members of parliament,
Sitting together.
MCA, coming together to
never.
discuss their county.
They
There is
never.
none.
It's like everybody's running their own
Yes,
show.
yes.
If it's the MCA.
I wish you could have
I want
one.
to take
We
care of my
need to
ward.
have, we need a county leadership forum, which also brings the media in that county,
Yeah.
the clergy in that county, the business community in that county, the community leaders in that county. Then we discuss, we say, in Bahati we did this,
Yes.
in Naivasha we need this, in whatever. Then the governor will say, if for me to achieve this, I need this amount of money. Okay? Then the governor will task the senator, can you make sure we get this money? Then the MCs are told, this is the strategy of the county. So when you're planning with your community on the ground, plan in this direction. Don't go and plan for roads when we want markets.
So I think the way engineer is putting it, Kagi, and if I could hear him right, is that in as much as some of these other organizations have been very active as far as the electioneering period is concerned, the campaign period is concerned, talking about the media, talking about the church, talking about civil society, even after tomorrow, we still need to maintain that momentum.
Exactly.
Okay?
Yeah.
To be able to see. It's not now time to maybe retreat and now say that, we've elected them, now it's time to relax and just allow them to continue. We have to follow up on them and actually help us. We would like to know who is it that doesn't want to cooperate. Okay?
And let me remind you, remember the unga for 100 shillings ends this week. So most likely
It is
next,
ending, and even some people have not even
yes,
been able to get
maybe on Monday the other week, unga will be back to 200 each. So we've just temporarily forgotten that unga is at 100,
Sure.
but next week it will be at 100. Fuel, most likely it will hit 190. So those are the issues we need to remind the people we elect that you guys, you guaranteed us affordable living. Can you make sure it is there? Yeah.
Manicho, before you continue,
Yes.
I feel there are some people and engineer who are disadvantaged electorates who live at the borders. What do I mean by that? Maybe we're having a constituency whereby people are within the border of this constituency,
Yes.
A and B.
Yes.
And you find those on the side of constituency A, they might be attracted to vote the other side, but they are living on the other side.
Yes.
From this side, they go to the other side. And you find, because of that, that area whereby they are living in the border, they never get roads, they never get bursaries or any other development, simply because you are in the border. MP from A says, no, you vote B. From B says, no, you vote A. So they remain for many years without development.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's why I think the issue of coming together as leaders from within the same region will help such kind of people. But how can this be healed?
What needs to heal this is by electing the people who speak healing tomorrow. First, that's where you start. Tomorrow, you know, Kenya is a political driven nation, meaning our politics drives everything. You've seen the church has come on board to make sure that we are able to get good leaders. The media has participated actively. The way you've said, the business community has hosted all these people who are running for office. Tomorrow, we will elect one person in every seat, isn't it? Please make sure that the people we elect tomorrow, we still have a chance. You still have a chance to change your mind. You still have a chance to decide if you have not decided. So once you make that decision, let it be the right decision. And then all of us, we continue holding each other to account. If I am elected, can I hold my fellow leaders to account? You understand? Because like the scenario we had here today of in Nakuru of insecurity being associated with certain leaders. Why could their peers not tell them, you know, boss, me, I don't like what I'm hearing about your constituency, that you are funding this kind of things. Yeah. Peers need to talk to each other. Then there needs to be also leaders who are able to speak to everyone. Yeah. You understand? There has to be like one person or two people who can be able to reach out to the other, who is magnanimous to say, even if I have a small office, let me call the governor and tell him I don't like what is happening. And when we start talking like that, you start finding people are listening to each other, they are having conversation, and the county will start being progressive. The people on the marginalized areas, there are areas even you, I'm sure you have never reached. There's a ward in Kuresoi, it's called Kiptorol warding. That ward is bordered by Bomet and Kericho. Actually, it is near, it's easier to go to Kericho and Bomet than to come to Nakuru. Those people, we went to a class. This is a class where they're supposed to deliver CBC. And the kind of infrastructure there, it is so bad. Yet you look at the exam assessment that child has been given. There is nothing here he can be able to provide in terms of materials to be able to do the assessment. Then you ask yourself, how will this person be the same level as a child here in Nakuru East or Nakuru West? And they're supposed to be in one county. You find in Kuresoi, there is a lot of food that can be produced there. The problem is roads. Yet there are people sleeping hungry here in town. You know, there is what we call urban famine. People who cannot afford 2 or 3 meals in the city center. But there is a lot of food the other side. Milk, for example, in Kuresoi, we were being told you can buy 1 liter at 10 shillings. Yet here in the town, the liter is 75 shillings. Yes. So where is the problem? We have a milk plant here in Salga called Daima. That milk plant has a capacity to produce 300,000 liters of milk processed. Yet they were telling us they only get 50,000 liters. 10,000 from Nakuru, 50,000 from other counties. Yet in Kuresoi, northern south, we have the potential to produce milk if we give every house a farmer, a cow. You understand? So we need to be able to reach in these marginalized areas and take development to them. And also there is a very important thing we need to do. Education is very important. Education is very important so that once we are able to educate people, they'll appreciate the value of these things we're discussing. But there's a lot of things we are talking today, but 60-70% of our people don't understand because it is delivered in a language they don't understand. So we need to educate so that they can understand the things we are discussing.
Who's supposed to do that?
Everybody. Okay? We have an education ministry, we have civil society, we have media, we have a lot of time. We have 5 years before the next election. Can we use that time wisely in educating people? That is the point.
That's the point. And tomorrow, that's the decision that you will be making, our dear viewer, and it's a very great decision that you have to make tomorrow. And the names of the leaders that are supposed to be elected, you're supposed to vote for, are in the ballot. And we want to believe that we have good leaders in those ballot papers.
Thank you.
It is not too late, like you're saying, for you to be able to consider. Don't just go there with emotions. Don't just go there maybe out of other considerations that are not very, very critical. But again, still, Kagi, for those maybe who feel that maybe they will not have lost the election fairly, there is an avenue, okay? As we've said, it's important for us to maintain peace. It's important for us to maintain tranquility. We do not want to see people maybe going to demonstrations, throwing stones. We have a very good avenue, and that is going to court.
Yeah, I think that is what President said yesterday, which is very, very important, his message to Kenyans, that after tomorrow, let leaders do what they're supposed to do. It is in black and white in our legal systems. You know what you're supposed to do. Don't go inside people because you lost elections. I think we have very rigid and strong legal systems to be able to do this. If you are an MCA you know that if you lose the election, you don't go mobilizing people to demonstrate, just leave people alone to go on with the activities, go to court, present your case. I think the judiciary is ready to be able to do that.
Yeah.
If you're an MP, you know where you're supposed to go.
Sure.
Like in presidential elections, I think yesterday, as I was saying at the beginning, the Chief Justice gave a clear process that need to be followed if you lose the elections on the presidential platform. This is to avoid maybe imaginations, you think on your own supposed to. It is now very clear that if today you lose elections, you are given some days to compile your complaints, how you present it, who are supposed to serve the other team. Everything is in black and white. Okay. So I think it's very, very clear. But I think the seat that is a bit sensitive is presidential, because the process is a bit, we have various situations of presenting maybe a case.
But my biggest worry is in these other seats. For example, if you go to Nairobi, the seats for MP are hotly contested. So the possibility of violence in those constituencies is very high.
It's very high.
Very, very high. So we also need not to ignore the local politics, the small pockets of violence that can be attributed to the small seats. Even, for example, the seat of an MCA. Say here in Bahati, we have 5 wards. And in every ward, there are 10 aspirants running for MCA seat. Meaning, only 5 will be elected out of 50.
Yeah.
Meaning, there will be 45 people who believe they lost unfairly. If they all bring their supporters at the sub-county tallying center, what chaos are we going to have? So it's good that everybody tells their people, once you cast your vote, go home. Next day, continue with your business. Let us wait for IEBC to announce. And also the media, be very careful with the results you transmit. Make sure that is the votes that have been certified at the polling center. Sure. So that those are the votes that you tell everybody.
Yeah, I think the good thing with maybe the petitions regarding the elections is a timeline. As compared to other cases whereby you go to court and it takes years. For the issue of elections,
2 years.
It's 2 years.
Maximum.
Presidential
is 21 days.
21 days is over. I think that is the best thing that we have done. Right?
And I'm also requesting that even corruption should be dealt with the same speed.
Exactly.
Okay? We should not have corruption cases going beyond 2 years.
Yeah.
I think that's something we need to cure.
And I think they have said it. Chief Justice herself has really been proposing that we should have a timeline for dealing with
corruption cases. Because right now, there are many leaders who have come with a lot of money, which is money they stole in the government that is ending now. And they are using that money to get to office. If we end up with 50% or 40% of wash candidates, you can imagine the kind of leadership we are going to have. So I think it's important that whoever will be charged with a corruption case, it is prosecuted and heard within and determined within within this term, of this next government. 2 years maximum. So that we are done with that person, he leaves office or she leaves office, and we get somebody else to.
And I think, Engineer, by and large, are you satisfied with the preparation of the electoral body, IBC, as far as
the electoral body has done what it could do with the resources and time it had? There are areas you could have done better, but I'm sure they will find ways to mitigate. But with what they had, with the time they had, with the challenges they went through, remember the commissioners came on board very late. They didn't have a CEO even on time. So there are so many challenges given to IEBC that whatever it has done, let's give them, let's encourage them for the next 24 hours. They'll give us a good election.
Sure.
I believe so.
I think, Mangisho, we only have 3 minutes to finish the show. Maybe I can say that IEBC is not the only agency running these elections. They're getting support from other agencies. So if you allow the IEBC to do its job, other agencies like security, all of them are coming together to help the elections to be free and fair, right? So ours is just to participate and go home. Security officers are telling people, when you vote, leave.
Actually, I agree with you. I saw someone tweeted yesterday that as far as the election is concerned, the IEBC has done well in terms of preparation. Now, what matters is how the parties and the candidates are going to conduct themselves.
You know, it's very simple. If the police fail, okay, to control the people milling around, and the whole security infrastructure fails, you will accuse IEBC, but IEBC is not the one providing security. Then the whole process will become fraudulent. So I think it's important, as you've said, every institution to do their work, but also every citizen to play their role in preserving this peace.
Wow, and I think that is where we want to bring it to a close for this morning on the program, the Mid-Morning Park. And Kagi, we'll be back here on Wednesday.
Yes.
And we'll be able to know.
On Wednesday,
in Kiswahili they say mbivu na mbichi.
Bila shaka. And I think on Wednesday, we shall be having at least some results from maybe wards, constituencies, counties. And even I think because the results are being taken from polling stations for presidential, we'll have a considerable number of the votes from the constituencies and from the wards regarding the presidential election. So on Wednesday, we are here. We shall be keeping you updated on what is happening.
Exactly.
Right.
And we still continue to encourage you, our dear viewer, make sure tomorrow you rise up early in the morning and go and do your national duty. Take part in this crucial exercise that comes after every 5 years. Vote and vote wisely. Our guest, Engineer Crispus Odhimba, it's been a pleasure to have you this morning on this particular show, and thank you so much for your insights.
Thank you to you all for hosting me, and I encourage everybody to vote. Make sure you get your vote. Make sure it is stamped before you cast it, and make sure you tick or whatever, put a mark within the box. If you put in 2 boxes, it's a spoiled vote. So don't wait, and please don't leave any ballot not marked. Don't attack kura zipote.
Thank you so much. Until we do it again on Wednesday, starting from 10:30 a.m. On behalf of the entire team, the entire crew that has made this program a success, my name is Mangicho Mola. Have yourself a bright afternoon.
My name is Paul Kagi. Remember to keep peace.